March 10, 1943. A German fighter pilot named Egon Mayer climbs into his Bf-109 at dawn, knowing he has exactly 3 days to solve a problem that is killing his fellow pilots at an alarming rate. The American B-17 Flying Fortress has become virtually unbeatable. Dozens of German aces have died trying to bring one down. But Egon has noticed something, a tiny detail that everyone else has missed. And if he's right, he's about to change the course of the air war over Europe forever. This is the true story of 3 desperate days that transformed aerial combat. By early 1943, the Luftwaffe is facing an existential crisis. American B-17 bombers are crossing into German airspace in formations so massive they blot out the sun. And they're untouchable. Here's why. The B-17 earned its nickname Flying Fortress for a reason. 13 50 caliber machine guns, armored crew compartments, and most importantly, something called mutual defensive fire. When B-17's fly in tight formation, their overlapping fields of fire create an impenetrable bubble of lead. Any German fighter that gets close enough to attack gets shredded by multiple gunners firing simultaneously. Egon Mayer has seen it firsthand. He's watched skilled pilots, men he trained with, get cut to pieces the moment they enter that defensive sphere. The standard attack approach, coming in from the sides or rear, has become a death sentence. But Egon is different. He's an observer, a thinker. While other pilots are focused on scoring kills, he's been studying the formations, taking notes, sketching diagrams in his logbook after every mission. And 3 days ago, during a raid over Wilhelmshaven, he saw something that made his blood run cold and his mind race. A B-17 got separated from its formation, just for a moment. And in that moment Egon noticed the one place on the fortress where the guns couldn't reach, the nose. From dead ahead, there were only 2 30 caliber guns, and they had extremely limited traverse. The bomber's own fuselage blocked the side and top gunners from firing forward. It was a blind spot, a fatal weakness hidden in plain sight. But attacking from head-on meant flying directly into a 4-engine bomber traveling at 180 miles per hour. The closing speed would be over 500 miles per hour. You'd have less than 2 seconds to aim, fire, and pull away before collision. Miss your timing by even a fraction of a second, and you'd smash into 2 tons of steel and aluminum at combined speeds that would vaporize both aircraft instantly. It was insane, suicidal, exactly the kind of thing High Command would never approve, which is why Egon has decided not to ask for permission. March 10th. Egon gathers for pilots he trusts, men who are skilled enough to attempt what he's proposing and crazy enough to actually try it. He spreads out his diagrams on a table in the briefing room and explains his theory. The looks on their faces tell him everything. They think he's lost his mind. "You want us to play chicken with a B-17? One of them asks. "Egon, we'll be dead before we fire a single round." But Egon is prepared. He's calculated everything. The attack angle, the dive speed, the exact moment to fire. He's even figured out that they need to aim low, at the cockpit and engines, because pulling up is easier than diving away at the last second. "The Americans think they're invulnerable," Egon says quietly. "That's their weakness. They unexpect an attack from straight ahead because they think we're too afraid to try it. And they're right. Everyone else is too afraid. But we're not everyone else." The silence in the room is heavy. Then one pilot nods, then another. By the end of the briefing, all 4 have agreed to try, but they need to practice, and they can't practice on actual bombers without alerting High Command. So Egon devises a training method. They'll use their own Ru-52 transport planes as stand-ins, making high-speed head-on passes, pulling away at the last possible moment to build muscle memory. The first attempt is a disaster. 2 fighters nearly collide with the Ru-52. One pilot freezes at the last second and has to be talked through his panic over the radio. But Egon doesn't give up. They fly sortie after sortie, refining their technique, learning to trust their instincts at those impossible closing speeds. By evening, they're starting to get it. The key is confidence. Hesitation kills you. You commit fully or not at all. That night, Egon barely sleeps. He knows the real test is coming, and he knows that if this fails, he'll be responsible for the deaths of 4 good men. March 11th. The raid sirens wail at 11 a.m. A formation of B-17's is approaching Hamburg. Over 100 bombers in a massive defensive box formation. This is it. Egon and his 4 pilots scramble to their fighters. As they climb to intercept altitude, Egon's radio crackles with chatter from other Luftwaffe squadrons already engaging the bombers. The reports are grim. 2 fighters down, 3 more damaged. The Americans haven't lost a single plane. Egon's voice cuts through the chaos. "Stay tight. Remember the approach. Commit or die." They position themselves 12 miles ahead of the bomber stream, at 27,000 feet. Then they turn and dive, building up speed, plunging straight into the face of the formation. The closing speed is staggering. The bombers grow from dots to massive shapes in seconds. Egon can see the pilots in the cockpit, can see the moment they realize what's happening, confusion, then panic. The nose gunners open fire, but their 30 caliber tracers are weak, scattered. Egon's 20mm cannons roar. He aims for the left engine and cockpit, holding his fire until he's so close he can see the rivets on the bomber's skin. His shells punch through aluminum like paper. The left engine explodes into flame. Then he's pulling up hard, his vision graying out from the G-forces, the B-17 flashing past beneath him so close he can feel the turbulence from its propellers. He's through. He's alive. Behind him, 3 more of his pilots execute the same attack. One overshoots and has to roll desperately to avoid collision. But the damage is done, for B-17s are streaming smoke, falling out of formation. The bomber crews are stunned. This has never happened before. Their impregnable fortress has been breached. But Egon knows this is just the beginning. They've proven the tactic works. Now they need to make it doctrine. March 12th, Egon is summoned to Luftwaffe High Command. He expects to be court-martialed for conducting unauthorized tactical experiments. Instead, he walks into a room full of generals who want to know everything. The reports from yesterday's raid have caused a sensation. For the first time in months, B-17s were shot down in significant numbers without catastrophic German losses. The bomber crews are rattled. Intelligence reports indicate they're calling it the new German tactic and urgently requesting defensive modifications. But High Command is skeptical. They want proof this wasn't just luck. They want Egon to do it again, today, with witnesses. At 2 p.m., another raid develops. Egon leads a full squadron, this time, 12 fighters strong. They've had less than 24 hours to train the new pilots in head-on attacks, but there's no more time. The bombers are coming. This time, the Americans are ready. Their formations are tighter. The nose gunners are more aggressive, but Egon's pilots are committed. They dive in waves, one after another, giving the gunners no time to track individual targets. The sky becomes a maelstrom of tracer fire, exploding engines, and falling metal. Egon's wingman takes hits and has to break off, his fighter trailing black smoke. But the attacks are devastating. 7 B-17s go down. The formation breaks apart, bombers scattering for cloud cover. It's chaos, it's brutal, but it works. When Egon lands, his hands are shaking so badly he can barely unbuckle his harness. He's just revolutionized aerial combat, but the cost is hitting him now. The wingman he saw go down was a friend. The men inside those burning bombers had families. But war doesn't stop for reflection. Within weeks, head-on attacks became standard Luftwaffe doctrine. Every fighter pilot was trained in the technique Egon Mayer developed during those desperate 3 days in March, 1943. The Americans were forced to develop new defensive measures, adding chin turrets and reinforced nose compartments to their B-17s. The air war evolved because one pilot refused to accept the impossible. Egon Mayer would go on to shoot down 102 Allied aircraft, many of them heavy bombers. He became one of Germany's most decorated fighter aces. But when asked about his greatest achievement, he never mentioned his kill count. He talked about those 3 days in March, the days he solved the unsolvable problem. Tragically, Egon was killed in action on March 2, 1944, almost exactly 1 year after his breakthrough, during a head-on attack against American bombers. The same tactic he pioneered claimed his life. He was 26 years old, but his legacy lived on. The head-on attack forced both sides to innovate, to adapt, to constantly evolve their tactics and technology. It's a reminder that in warfare, as in life, the biggest breakthroughs often come from seeing what everyone else is looking at but thinking what no one else has thought. Egon Mayer didn't just change how fighters attacked bombers. He changed how we think about impossible problems. Sometimes the solution isn't to fight harder, it's to fight smarter. To look at the problem from a completely different angle, literally. And sometimes it takes just 3 days to change everything.